Hello there, Jefi. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. I love the topic we've got today
Me too.
because it's all about finding your mortgage match.
You know what's really
This
funny
what?
is that a lot of, we're realtors, we're not lenders, but we
Wait, I'm a
can't.
realtor?
Yes.
I'm on the wrong podcast.
That was funny.
That was good.
The thing that I find interesting that is that a lot of people don't talk about the fact that the lender is just as important as you are as a realtor in the scenario that is going on for buying and selling. And having the right one, finding that mortgage match is it's just as important as finding the best realtor for you.
It's super important. And that's
Yeah.
what we're going to be talking about is that finding that match, it's all about the service.
Yes, it
And
is.
and I've got a great story to kick this off. I was on the phone yesterday with an agent, and we were just chewing the fat. And she picked up she's told me a new listing she's getting, and she'd had it about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "What's the deal there?" And she said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "I was representing the sellers. Buyers, came in. We went under
Mm-hmm.
contract."
Mm-hmm.
Everything was rolling along fine. Now, remember, in North Carolina, we do a due diligence contract. So a lot of the
Yeah.
details, we don't have like the checkoff points. It's like
Right.
everything's getting taken care of and
Yes.
assured. And sellers moved out.
Mm-hmm.
Sellers left the country, like ready to close.
Yeah.
The buyer, their lender, which was an online lender, never locked the rate. And the rate went up a full point during that period of time. And it was going to cost, it was an expensive home. It was going to cost them $1,000 a month more for their mortgage.
12,000 a year.
And they bailed out because there was no customer service.
Oh, God, that makes my stomach hurt.
I know.
These are the kind of things that it's crazy. That's amateur hour right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have buyers who don't know. They just know I'm looking for the best rate. I'm looking for this one piece of an entire loan. I'm looking for this one piece. It's the most important.
Yeah.
And that's
and
okay.
They got enticed to a situation that was too good to be true because it was. And
Yeah.
it never got locked and they had no leverage. And then it's like a couple years later and the seller's now putting it back on the market, right? It was that much of a mess.
Yeah.
So what a great way to kick it off, huh? I'm glad I could surprise you with that story.
My stomach hurts.
I told her, I said, "Oh, this is perfect timing to tell that story." So,
yeah. No, this is good. Well, look, you're a buyer, you're out there, you're doing your thing, and your uncle is a lender. Okay, well, I'm happy. I mean, my family uses me as a real estate agent. I understand that. But if they came to me and said, I need excellence, I'm already giving them excellence. If you're going to use your uncle as your lender, you better make sure they're going to give you excellence because in this market, in this time, you need that level. So I know I kind of am bouncing all around. I can see your eyeballs looking at our show notes.
That's cool.
But okay. So clear communication. So this is where it really comes into play. With clear communication, you as a consumer need to find out the process of your lender. What's it going to cost? That's fine. That can be your number one. I don't care if it's your number one, but what's it going to cost me? Where are we going to, what touch points and talk points are we going to have? When do I know you've locked my rate? When do I know that I can remove my contingencies because we're different than you? We have a contingency for loan and appraisal. That communication is so important. And not only is it important for the buyer, but it's also important for the buyer's agent and the listing agent so they can keep a clear line of information going between all parties. Yeah. And if you have someone who you found online and they're not communicating, okay, it's just like a shit show.
Yeah, yeah. That's like clear communication is really important, and they, communicating around the key points
Yes.
in around
Yeah.
your contract, right? Because your contract's different than my contract, and they need to
Yeah.
know the ins and outs of it.
Hey,
Which
chime
I think,
out for a
yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah.
The last lender I had told his buyer that his time frames didn't start until his earnest money deposit went in. I'm all, did he just make that shit up? Like, where did he get that from? That's not what the contract says.
Yeah, I know. It's like, where'd you get that
Wow.
one?
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
That's
Okay,
good.
sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
that's a great little tangent, but that gets down to the personalized guidance. Because a great lender is going to take the time to understand. You like that little slap. The financial situation and goals, right? They're going to take the time to understand the situation.
Yeah.
So you want to be getting that. Because there's,
Yeah.
how long are you going to hold the home? Do you have other debt? What's the whole thing? What's going on?
Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to Jeremy Patterson at Fairway Mortgage, because this is where he shines like the Hope Diamond. For real. He will sit
he's
with
really
his
good at that.
Oh yeah. God, yeah. So this guy will sit with you and he looks at the big picture. He's a wealth builder, right? He's like, okay, you're young, you have a lot of debt, you've got X, Y, and Z, so we need to get these things under control. It is in my highest and best opinion for you to do X, Y, and Z. So he's not about the sale. He's not about how far can I push these people. He does this incredible personalized guidance for these clients that set them up on the right foot for their life.
Yeah, because it's about the relationship, the long-term relationship. It's not about like the lowest rate.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Super important.
All right. I'm talking a lot on this podcast. Sorry, everybody.
That's good. I love it.
Competitive rates and fees. Yes, those are very important, but we need to look at the long term. So your story at the beginning, your client, or the client, not your client, but the client buyer lost out on buying a home 2 years ago where the price is significantly less than today.
Yeah.
The same house, if they went and bought it today, would be $1,000 or more a month, even with the better interest rate.
So the market, let's kind of look at what that means in real dollars, right?
Okay.
So the market in the last 2 years here has gone up like 23%.
Yeah.
Right? So they missed out on that opportunity.
Yes, by hiring somebody who
because they
couldn't do a good job for them.
Right. So you want them to be competitive on the rate.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of that, but you got to get to the finish line, and you have to be very careful on that rate. Like, what are you paying in points for it? What do what's the cost? Because you can have an advertised rate and you can have bragging rights with your buddies on what you got, but you're paying a lot up front for it. So you want to be looking at that. Go ahead.
A really good lender will take, if you're shopping around, they'll take your estimated closing cost sheets. And they'll say, hey, here's where you're not looking at. This is where you're paying that it doesn't look like you're paying. Or we're actually charging you the same fees. They're just showing them differently because it's not apples to apples with there's all sorts of different ways that lenders can show their fees.
Yep. No, that's awesome. Which I think gets to our next point, which is, do they have efficient processing?
Yes.
Super important. And now a shout out for my favorite lender, Frank Rexford of Corporate Investors Mortgage Group.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Frank. And they did your loan for your investment properties.
Yep.
They have in-house underwriting. So super valuable. And what that means for our consumers is if something comes up, they're just going down a few desks and talking to somebody who can take care of the issue. They're not going off to a third party to get that taken care of and having that friction. So that getting to the finish line when you have these little questions coming up, really, really important.
Yeah, very, very important. Professionalism and expertise. This is a common theme in our business.
Yeah.
Because anybody can be a realtor and anybody can be a lender, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're working with someone, once you get over the hurdle of the cost, okay, because there's a lot of people that probably could give you the same rate. So let's just talk about that for a second. Professionalism goes a very long way in this business. And if you have a lender who is professional in their communication, they're an expert in their field, you are going to be put into a winning situation. And that's what you want as a consumer. That's what you want as the buyer. You want to be in that winning situation.
Yep.
Someone who understands the mortgage industry, someone who has skin in the game, someone who this is their full-time passion and job. These are a lot of questions you should be asking of your lender, more so than just the rate.
I agree. So let's kind of go to the point of it for kind of future considerations and action items for our clients. So succinctly, what would you advise? You're sitting down with a new buyer and you're chatting with them and you ask that lending question and they say, well, I'm thinking about going with this online lender XYZ Co. Mm-hmm. What would you communicate to them as to how they should move forward?
Well, I would say that, okay, this is different than the question I thought you were going to ask me. Okay. So what would I say to them if they're going to use X, Y, and Z? I would say, okay, I feel very uncomfortable putting you in a situation where I know you're going to get very frustrated because the track record of XYZ company is they don't communicate, they don't deliver on time, and you're most likely going to pay more than you think you're going to pay. Mm-hmm. So I would prefer for your sanity through this next 30 to 45 days that you talk to a couple more people. Right. They don't have to be people that I recommend, but somebody who's really a professional in the business. That's where I would start with that particular one.
I think that's exactly right to say, go ahead and hold that one there. Mm-hmm. Let's talk to a couple others and compare apples to apples today and factor everything in. Also knowing that we have a dynamic transaction that relies on actually hitting deadlines.
Right.
If you're refining, knock yourself out. Because that's a different situation. But we got to get to a certain date at a certain time, and there's hurdles along the way. And the cost of non-performance is huge.
Yeah. Here's, this is one other point. I know this we could talk about this forever, but if I'm on the listing side and I see a buyer who's a strong, looks good, and they come in with mortgage, like an online mortgage company, I am going to tell my seller, if you accept this offer, here are the hurdles you're going to jump. Is this a team that you want to work with? And I will always give the buyer's agent a chance to go, hey, is there any way that you can have them work with a different company that has a better track record? So it's not like I'm just nixing people out, but it truly is. You have to, the listing side has to explain to their seller the hurdles they're going to jump with that particular type of lender. So don't forget that as a buyer, you're going to be put, you're kind of, if you're in competition, you're going to be at the end of the line.
On a hot property, and let's face it, we're seeing that again. In your market, you're seeing multiple offers. Yeah. We're seeing that too. Yep. In a hot market, that one gets weakened by that letter if it's not a professional.
Yeah. So in closing, your lender is just as an important choice as your realtor.
That's right. And don't undervalue good quality customer service.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. We'll see you at the next one.